Hey guys, what it do? It's your boy Supreme Uchiha, the God. Today I want to talk about how to fight. How to Fight is a webtoon, Korean of course, and it's absolutely phenomenal. Co-created by the boy that writes Lucasm. If you like Lucasm, you'd probably like this. It has a lot of its positive and not a lot of its downfalls. Thus far, I mean, obviously Lucasm is 200 something chapters in, and How to Fight is not. It's only like 50-60 chapters in. It's currently unfortunately not translated in the official webtoon, but hopefully it will get a translation soon. But it's really good, man. It's about a nerd, a little weak hero-ish. This nerd is getting bullied and beaten up all over the place, and one day he decides, enough is enough. I'm just gonna stand up for myself, and because he realizes he can make an income that way. And he stands up for himself, and he teams up with a guy that was also bullying him. But that guy he saw the bravery that Hobin showed, our main character, our protagonist showed, and that really encouraged him. And he was like, yo, like this guy was willing to fight for his shit, and since, even though he was getting his ass whooped, he was willing to stand there and try it. And he was brave, and then he trained and he came back and he actually beat the guy. The dedication and effort he placed in, he locked himself away for a month and learned how to fight, the basic moves. He's a very driven character, not perfect. He's like a real person in a way, because the way some really nice, quote unquote nice guys do some assholey shit, he does that. He's imperfect. The cast, the supporting cast is really good. The videographer and the editor, phenomenal. Even the villains are pretty interesting. They are a bit layered. Some of you obviously gonna get your bad for bad sake, just the way you get bullies who just seem to be bullies. From your perspective, all you see is the negative side of that, right? But obviously from their perspective, they could have their own mental reasoning or gymnastics that got them to the stage where they think bullying is a cool or ideal or nice thing to do, which is unfortunate. But a lot of people get bullied every day, so obviously these stories aren't just taking it out of thin air. But it's really good. It's really good. I enjoy it a lot. I think he gets the cliche romantic interest that's like way out of his league type of thing. Even though he's pretty attractive himself, to be honest, he's just really skinny and pretty weak and doesn't dress up to himself. But he's actually an attractive dude. He looks more attractive lately than he did when he was super poor. But it's pretty interesting. He's still dating out of his league, because the girl he's dating is like Beyonce or some shit, but Jay-Z is dating Beyonce, so but he rich, so. You get that the romance isn't spectacular, I'm not gonna lie. As a romance buff, the romance is a little bit underwhelming. He's an upright guy for sure though, and it's basically about a guy that he teaches nerds how to fight on YouTube, by learning how to fight himself during these circumstances, and it's pretty funny. You definitely feel for the characters. It's very emotionally gripping, very sad sometimes. It's a roller coaster of emotions. You already know, if you read Asian content in general, that shit tends to have a lot of depressing shit on it. They don't really cut corners when it comes to certain feelings and certain portrayals of certain emotions, which is always phenomenal to see, phenomenal to read. But yeah, it's just really good, to be honest with you. The fighting is pretty good. It's actually pretty good. It's pretty gripping. It's interesting. There's different types of characters. Not every handsome tall guy is a bully. Not every ugly, skinny, or whatever person is a good guy. It really fluctuates, you know what I'm saying? And one of the things the protagonist says is, I hate Lucasm. And if you know what Lucasm means, and obviously the co-author of this is the Lucasm author as well, Lucasm just means people, because in Asia it is a big thing. Actually, even in most of the world, it's a big thing, but Asia kind of gets the blame for it because I think they seem to be more open about it in their works. But Lucasm basically just is like, people in society and everything in life can be dictated by how you look. If you're ugly, you can be bullied. If you're ugly, you won't get girls. I mean, this happens everywhere, right? If you're ugly, because of your looks, opportunities might not given to you. I think it's been proven that, if you and a more attractive person both have a job interview, the chances are, even if your CV is a bit better than the other person, the attractive person is gonna get hired, right? This first impressions. It's we're humans, right? We're animals. We see things with our eyes. We visualize. It's a key sense. So it dictates a lot of our decisions. Our everyday decisions. A lot of people pick houses based on how it looks, right? Not solely based on pricing, etc., etc. A lot of really nice looking cars are really trash cars, but people buy them because they look really nice. Even though the engine and stuff like that, and the cars break all the time, like a Ferrari's notorious for being pretty useless. A few, like the older Ferraris, they were so unmanageable, and they made money by people repairing the thing all the time. So that's the thing. Like Lucasm, it's a thing that exists, and even though the Lucasm webtoon itself is no longer about Lucasm, which is crazy because it was about Lucasm at the start, and I think maybe he mistitled it. You know what I mean? Because it's no longer about Lucasm. Now I'm just ranting about Lucasm. But How to Fight is pretty dedicated to its thing, and it's not just how to fight physical fights. It's also how to fight for who you care for, how to fight for love, how to it's a lot of different ways you can interpret it, which I think it keeps it away from being limited. I think right now it's getting slightly repetitive in its nature. Well, it was, sorry, and then it flipped the script and it added a new type of challenge, a new type of obstacle. Which is good to see. I like when webtoons, mangas, etc. do that. They give you something different. They try to keep your interest, your intrigue. Again, man, the characters are great. The story is really great. Very emotionally driven drama, super dramatic. But I would definitely suggest, if it comes out on webtoon, for you to maybe wait a while, because it's not something you really want to read one a week. I think you want to wait for the first 30 chapters so you can get, a good chunk of the characters, a good chunk of information, a good chunk of dialogue, a good chunk of something to latch onto, so that even if it takes a week or 2 weeks or whatever to update, you still have that energy to continue reading it. Because that's something I found with myself, is sometimes I'd read a good first chapter, but it wasn't like amazing. It didn't blow me away. So like the first chapter of How to Fight didn't blow me away. It wasn't until like chapter 4, 5, 6 that I was like, ooh. If I just stumbled upon it and read chapter 1, I probably would have been like, yeah, whatever. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's just something to bear in mind. So I'd highly recommend How to Fight. And sometimes I guess in life you just gotta fight for what you care for. You know what I mean? I'm out.
I got friends now. You ain't know, but I got friends now. I'm balling out with my friends now. You ain't know, but I got friends now.